class.
Woo! Thanks.
And now you get to cure the...
The vision of the world of healing is to discover, celebrate, and reveal different types of healing techniques, systems, and philosophies. By exploring and honoring these different practices and healing beliefs from around the world, listeners will be able to learn more about different cultures and be exposed to ideas that they may not have heard before. Our vision is to expand the listener's mind about what is possible in the world of healing, while at the same time helping people realize that we are more similar than we are different. This is the World of Healing with Dr. Vanda Corbett. On today's show, we welcome Sean Tyler Foley, a master communicator and best-selling author who's here today to speak to us about communication styles between patients and healers.
Hi, Vanda.
Hi. Welcome to the World of Healing show. And I am so excited today because I have my best friend, or at least one of them, but definitely my oldest friend in the entire world. And also a #1 best-selling author, Sean Tyler Foley. But I just call him Tyler. Or Ty Guy.
Or Ty Guy. We like Ty Guy.
We like Ty Guy. So anyways, Tyler just wrote this book. It's called The Power to Speak Naked. You should all go and check it out. But we're going to do a little bit of talk today about it. But the interesting thing is why we're actually here talking to Tyler today, because he is not what one would call a healer. So it's not really technically in the world of healing. But what we're here to talk about today is communication. And communication with healing is one of the ultimate things. So Tyler, with his background in acting, TV, movies, stage performances, and then now he is an excellent public speaker, motivational speaker, and best-selling author, and overall just super cool guy because he's one of my best friends in the entire world. So everybody, welcome Tyler.
Hi, everybody.
So tell me, so what we're, and also, I should say master communicator.
That's our master communicator.
Master communicator.
Yeah.
So tell me, how do healing and communication go together?
Well, I think particularly when it comes to one's own body, you are the authority on your body, right?
Absolutely.
Nobody else has been with your body longer than you have.
That's true. You know what's going on.
You know what's going on, but the ability to effectively communicate that to another person, particularly when you know something's wrong, can be critical, really, and in some cases, life or death.
Absolutely.
So being able to clearly and effectively communicate how you feel, what you're doing to a practitioner, and vice versa, having a practitioner being able to effectively communicate to you what they feel is going on.
Absolutely.
And then the two being able to understand from each other's point of view so that you can effectively get the best care available to you.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to, on both ends, both communicate symptoms and what you're dealing with, and then be able to re-communicate from a practitioner standpoint, from a healer standpoint, what you're interpreting, they're saying, and getting that to that
mesh.
That reconfirmation of what you interpret their symptoms to be. There's often a misalignment.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, good word. Good word.
We use misalignment when we have a chiropractor in the house.
See, communication. I understand exactly what he's saying. I used to have this sign in my room when growing up, and it used to say, I think I got it from a garage sale or something, but it was like, I know you think you understand what you thought I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what I said was not what I meant.
Exactly.
So that's because I know as a practitioner, people come into me and they're like, I have pain. And I'm like, okay, where? And they're like, here. Like, can you be a little bit more specific?
And what do you mean by pain? Do you have discomfort?
Yeah, discomfort. Is it a 4 out of 10, or is it the worst pain you've ever had?
Sharp pain,
Dull
radiating pain,
radiating, stabbing like a knife.
And again, you're using language that you understand.
Yeah.
So for you, that creates imagery, but the person who you're asking that of may not understand what you mean.
Exactly.
And it becomes this really complex game of what are you saying? What is the meaning behind what you're saying? And is it in actuality what I'm hearing? And then it becomes this wonderful game. You could probably spend 3 hours, 3 days doing a diagnosis if you needed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know in school, doing physical diagnosis class, when we were learning actually how to work with people and how to diagnose people, that was like 2 weeks of just describing pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like describing snow. We have one word for it, right? Oh, two. Sleet, maybe.
Maybe that's
Maybe,
brainy.
but that's rainy.
But see, in a but, I knew what you meant.
Yeah. So it's all about communication.
But to your point, the Inuit have,
What, was it 22 words
I
or something?
don't know, I don't want
lot.
to be misquoted, but they definitely have more than 2.
Yeah,
They have
absolutely.
all types of snow.
Yeah.
And, even for us, like if, even if you're a big skier and you're a powder hound, right? We got POW, man. We got POW for days.
Out for days.
POW for days, right? Like, I understand that to be a lighter, fluffier snow, but is that our pristine champagne powder, or is that more of a less dense Slurpee that you would get over at Whistler?
And see, Slurpee is something that I understand, but everybody else in the world might not understand.
So for those of you who are not Canadian and don't speak the Canadianism, that is an iced slush drink.
Yes, or a slushie.
Or a slushie.
Yeah.
Yes, not to
Yeah.
be confused with a snow cone. And this has taken an interesting turn.
And this is why I love Tie Guy. It's true. Yeah. So, how does one communicate then with their doctor? Any tips?
Well, yeah. So first of all, like any form of communication, having the end result in mind and then working backwards. So what are you trying to accomplish? First of all, why are you going to the doctor?
Right.
And I know that seems a weird question, but are you looking for a diagnostic? Are you looking for a referral? Are you looking for treatment? Are you looking for options? Are you there for education?
Yeah.
Why are you going to your chosen practitioner of choice?
Yeah.
And what is the end result that you want? And that will frame the language that you use. It's also important to know what language you're going to use. Are you going to use yours or are you going to use theirs? It's probably more easier for you to use yours, but being able to put yourself into their mind frame, and I feel for practitioners, you're seeing dozens, if not hundreds of people in a day.
Yeah.
And you have a very brief amount of time to get what can often be critical information. So being able to then, me as a patient, come in knowing that I have a limited time with you, that I need to be very succinct with my message and communicate very effectively.
Absolutely.
Planning ahead what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because you're going to come in and say, so what's wrong? And if I go, I have pain, you're going to then have to dig, and that's eating up valuable time.
Yeah.
Where if I come to you and I say, well, I have a radiating and burning sensation right about here that gets worse throughout the day.
Yep.
Now you have a little bit better idea of what's going on. I've been very clear up front. And if I wanted to get really, really super technical, then I could say, well, I've had problem with my lumbar before. My last doctor said, L4, L5 were possibly issues, and I don't know if that's real, by the way. I'm just throwing out words. I do that a lot.
Tyler's hung with me for a long time. He actually knows what lumbars are. So
I
it's
do,
okay.
I do, and I even have the support going on right now.
Yeah. Ergonomically
Correct.
chairs.
I am a safety professional after all.
Yeah.
So being able, if you're able to at least try to describe a little bit in language, but be accurate.
Yes.
Right, because everybody knows that they can Google 1,000 diagnoses, right?
Yeah. I'd like to charge people double if they come in with a Google diagnosis.
I believe you should.
I'm kidding,
Yes.
but sometimes I feel like I should.
So respecting that you're going to somebody who is an authority, if you knew what you were doing, you'd heal yourself.
Yeah.
But being able to provide them with the most information in the limited time that you have and recognize what that is. And that might even be a question that you want to ask up front. How much time is my appointment with my doctor?
Good point.
Is
Yeah.
this a 5-minute appointment, or is this a 10-minute? Is this a 15-minute?
Yeah.
Or is it an open-ended one where we just get to hang out until you figure out what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Because if I know that I have 5 minutes with my doctor, I'm going to be very succinct. If I know that it's going to be more of an exploratory discussion and I have a 30-minute appointment, well, maybe I have a little bit more window to explore that language.
Right. You can be a little bit more less direct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that goes for any communication. You want to make sure that you understand what time frames and what restrictions you're working with, and particularly when you're dealing with a professional like a practitioner, where you are not the only person they're going to see that day, and they're, you may be the first,
A lot
you
of
may be the
patients
last.
don't realize that, though. Yeah, I know.
You mean there's more than
There's
me?
more than you. Can you imagine?
All those people out there
They're just hanging out in the waiting room.
for fun.
For fun.
Decoration.
Absolutely.
Paid actors. Just to make us look full so that you would come in and
Yeah,
visit.
they're there to read our magazines and drink our tea.
I love your magazines.
I know.
I forgot all the things that happened in 2015 until I came into the office.
I have better magazines.
Well,
Come on.
because you're a better practitioner.
But yeah, 1986.
Yeah.
I've seen that before in a physician's office, like last year.
So being aware that there are time constraints, that you need to be narrow and know if you're going to a general practitioner, if you're going to a specialist, because that will affect the language that you use as well. How much of their history do they know of you? How much of their history do you know of them? All of these things are important things to consider, and like anything in life, the more prepared you are going in, the easier it will be to communicate with that person.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so conversely, what if you're a practitioner? How should you kind of switch that and talk to your, I guess it's very similar. But.
So it's very similar. So recognize, you can do a little bit of research on your patients too, because you're going to have a family history. So is this person married? Do they have children? What are some other things that could be affecting them? You may even know what their occupation is, and if you're able to maybe speak to that and start to really hone down and be aware of all of your communication. It's not just verbal, as most people know. 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Right.
So being conscious of how you enter the room even can affect what a patient does. I had a wonderful experience with a brand new doctor, first time I'd ever seen this particular doctor, and it wasn't for me, it was for my daughter, who was turning 4.
Yeah.
And
who's super cute.
Super cute. Oh, wow. But super cute with a cough right now, and the cough has been fairly persistent. And the doctor came in to the room. First of all, the room was one of the nicer rooms that I've ever been in as far as an examination room. And the doctor entered and immediately got low, really low, and got very open with my daughter, not leaning forward, kind of took a further back stance, put on a big smile and just said, "Hi, are you my patient today?" And she lit up immediately. She said, "Yeah." And he said, "So what's wrong?" "I have a cough." "Well, what kind of cough?" And so he started to use the language of the child. But it wasn't just the words that he was using, it was the mannerisms in which he did. Big smile. He slowed his words down.
Down on her level.
Yeah, down on her level, physically got down
She's
to
really
her level.
tiny.
She is really tiny. Her daddy and her mommy are small people, so she is too. But he took the time, both physically and verbally, to get to her level, and really took his time with her. Made her feel comfortable, made me feel comfortable. And that's the other thing too, is if you're in any kind of a situation where you have more than one person in the room, you're dealing with more than one person. Now you have an audience.
All the family dynamics that goes on. Yeah.
And so again, doing that research, who's in the room with you? And it's all the things that I speak about with public speaking goes to a practitioner. Who's in your room? What's the history? What are their outcome? Do you know them? How much do they know of you? Doing that research and, spacing your appointments so that you have that break and that rest is probably one of the most effective things you can do to communicate, because that gives you the time to do the research. And all things communication, research is key.
Yeah, the thing, it's funny when different people in the room, not just the patient that you're actually seeing, but either it's a parent. A lot of times, I know in this appointment, because we discussed it before with your daughter, he pretty much asked all the questions directly to her. Some parents don't do that. like some parents will just, no matter what, like you let her answer, right? And then translated. 4-year-old speak. But a lot of parents, like when I'm asking even a 10-year-old and the mother or father is in the room, I'll ask the kid the question, but the parents just jump right in and answer. So what I try to do is like kind of stop the parents answering and actually get the child to answer or the wife to answer, because the husband's making all the, or vice versa. A lot of wives just will completely answer for their husbands. But I have to admit, sometimes we get a little bit more information.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing too. If you're in a situation where you need to go in and see any type of practitioner, maybe take somebody with you, because you as the patient, it can be very nerve-wracking. I mean, I as a practitioner, I see 20, 25 people a day. I forget that sometimes when somebody comes to see me, they've been waiting a month, or it's been a really long time that before they finally even made a decision to come in and see me. That I forget sometimes that they're like 5 minutes or 15 minutes with me. Sometimes I forget to ask the specific questions, so that's why you got to be on the ball, right?
And again, having somebody to support that can be helpful too.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would strongly recommend is that if you are dealing with that duality, with that dynamic, as a professional, you have to control it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And recognizing where it's appropriate to expand and listen, because you may need to,
Yeah.
and where you need to shut it down. I know for me, and flipping back now from a patient perspective, knowing your body, knowing your history, you need to recognize when you aren't effectively communicating your message, and recognize that is not necessarily the practitioner's fault for not understanding.
Right.
You have to start to reframe the way that you're saying it, because if you're saying it the same way, they're going to interpret it the same way. And if you know that you're not getting the result that you want, you have to reframe that.
Absolutely. It's like ordering something in a different country, right? And you just keep using the same word but louder.
Yes, it doesn't work.
Large. No, I want a large. Like, that doesn't work.
And
try big.
Yes, and words do matter. It's funny that you mentioned the ordering food in a different country. When we went to your brother's wedding, and my beautiful wife wanted a grilled cheese sandwich. I know what I mean by that. You know what she means by that. But in the country we happen to be, a grilled cheese sandwich literally meant the cheese was grilled and put on regular bread as a sandwich.
Yeah. Different.
Still
grilled cheese sandwich.
All the words were
absolutely.
there. And if she'd have said grilled cheese sandwich 5 times, she would have gotten 5 of those sandwiches as opposed to the better one.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I've had that issue too, where I know what my symptoms are. And I've had twice now really bad dehydration brought on by overexertion and poor hydration.
He's not drinking enough water.
Not even a little bit. Or electrolytes or anything else that would help.
Anything
plus,
with liquid in it?
Food or anything that would be beneficial to my body. And then did a lot of exercise. And the first time it happened, I had symptoms that mimicked meningitis. But I was still able to communicate, and the doctor and I had a good conversation, and they were able to realize that I don't have meningitis.
Yeah.
The second time it happened, it was worse than the first time, and I lost the ability to speak.
This is why you should drink
water. But my wife was able to come into emergency, and she was like, well, he's had something similar before, and as just protocol, they were putting IVs in me. Well, as soon as they started hydrating my body, I started to get better.
Yeah.
My speech came back, and I was able to say, no, it's not meningitis. And they're like, well, we want to test for meningitis. I said, okay, well, you can test for meningitis. How do you want to test? And they said, spinal tap.
Really long needle.
Yeah, and I was like, you're not doing a spinal tap. I'm not allowing you to do that, knowing that I have this history.
Yeah.
But I was using the same phrases over and over again, and the doctor was using the same phrases over again.
Just going around in circles.
It was
like chasing your
it was
tail.
circular,
Yeah.
and it was 3.5 days in isolation because they thought I had meningitis, and they weren't going to let me out of isolation until they could rule it out. And I said, you have to have a non-invasive way of doing it, and I know that they have it. And I had to advocate to get different doctors. So the communication strategy had to change on my end because they have a protocol that they have to follow. And again, it comes back to that understanding. Being able to, effective communication is being able to remove yourself from the situation, put myself into your perspective, and then communicate back that way.
Kind of like, what piece is somebody missing?
Yeah.
Like, there must be some piece of information that hasn't been communicated properly, and if you're the one that's on the ball to try to figure that out, that what you're getting is not the outcome that you want, you have to change your communication style.
And one of the best ways to do that, by the way, secret tidbit, not in the book, adopt the curiosity of a 3.5-year-old.
Good.
Kenzie, about to turn 4, what does she always ask me?
I don't know.
Why?
Why?
Why? Why?
But why?
But why?
Why?
When does she stop asking
Never.
why? Never. Never stops. It just doesn't stop.
Stuck us up.
But
But what is it? At 4 they know all the questions, at 18 they know all the answers?
That's right.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know. God, do I ever know? So I would strongly encourage on both sides to adopt that curiosity, because when you, and innocent curiosity.
Right.
Because it's one thing to be like, well, why, right? I already know the answer, I know, and remove that you already know the answer. Why is this a thing? And if you can ask why and just get to the rationale and the reasoning, then it's usually easier to frame your words, to frame what you're saying and how you're saying it, so that that person then understands. Because now you're able to understand their viewpoint because you've gotten into the why.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great secret tidbit. Not in the book.
Not in the book. Adopt curiosity of 3.5-year-old.
The Power to Speak Naked Part 2, maybe.
Yes, yeah, the updated volume 2.
Volume 2.
Yeah.
Revised edition.
It's coming. And that will have the secret back cover, so, right, where, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The reason to buy the next version.
Never mind. So any other tidbits or anything that you can share with us about how to effectively communicate as a patient and or as a practitioner?
Well, the secret, beyond the secret tidbit? No, I would say that one of the best things you can do is recognize your own response. Okay, so if you feel that the conversation is going well, you're going to have a physiological response to it. If it's not going well, you're going to have a physiological response to it. And in and around the health...
It's your nervous system.
Yeah.
Go with the nervous system.
When we're talking about practitioners and healthcare and our health, that is going to negatively affect your diagnosis.
Yes.
So being conscious of how you are physiologically going into the room, both as a patient and as a practitioner, because you may be having a bad day too, right? You've just had a really difficult case, or you've had to give somebody some really bad news or whatever. Space, giving your time.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? So that you're not room to room to room to room to room.
A little
Give yourself
energetic cleaning.
the little time to cleanse.
Yep.
And as a patient, being able to be aware of what your mindset is, especially, right, you've been waiting 2 months, 3 months, a year for this diagnosis. You only have that window in the room, and maybe you're anxious, or maybe you're frustrated, the appointment got canceled twice, and I'm like, oh, what do I have to do?
Or we're running 10 minutes late, or
So your own physiology may be reflected, and it will affect your communication style. So taking a moment to really be aware of how your body is will help with the communication. And one of the best ways to do that is to plan ahead of time. So.
Maybe make a list.
Go in with a strategy, make a list. There's nothing wrong with the reminder. These are the things.
Yeah. Pull out your phone, do it on notes if you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of those are going to be helpful for both. It's why as a practitioner you're going to probably dictate or take notes at the end, because you aren't going to remember what it is a patient from now, let alone 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or a year down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of which, your mom has the best notes ever.
Sick?
No, that would be your dad's notes.
That would be my dad's notes, yeah.
We just threw Dad under the bus.
Hey, Dad.
Hi. No, your mom's notes are fantastic. I remember reading my chart once, and she was very specific about...
She does have good notes.
Yeah, about a mechanism of injury and where I was and how I was, and to be able to go back and read that patient history 25 years later, you're like, Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
That was uncomfortable.
Bad times.
Yeah. So being clear, because now, like, really, it's
Now we know what we did 25
Yeah.
years ago. That's the whole reason.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, anything else to say to our World of Healing audience?
Hi, World of Healing audience. No, be well. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you're curious about the book that we keep plugging, it's available on Amazon.
Amazon. I
Go
have the
get it.
Kindle version.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Yes, you
gotta say.
can do e-version, you can do that, and the
Yeah.
audio will be available soon.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's fun. Are you reading it? Of course he is.
Hi, I'm a communications expert who won't read their own book, but buy it. Yeah, I'm doing my own audio.
Yeah, that was it. See, communication. Dumb question. I'm with it.
I accept it.
Well, thank you so much, Tyler, for being on. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
And
proud
yeah,
of you.
that's it. Thanks. See you later.
Thank you for watching. This podcast should be listened to as educational purposes only. This is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. Please do not apply any of this information without speaking to your own personal doctor first. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a comment or get in touch on Facebook or Instagram at World of Healing Show. And until next time, keep smiling.
Should this be blank?